Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you how you can take your lined sketch and convert it into a lineless bit of art. So I've got two layers here. I've got one layer that has the inks and the other that just shows you what the original line art looks like. And I'm going to make a layer underneath the rightmost copy here. And I'm starting off with the polygon lasso tool to define all the straight edges that are in this image. So we're starting off with the sign. I'm using the poly lasso tool, just clicking and dragging as I go along. And once I have that in, I will fill that in with a color. Doesn't really matter what the color is at this stage. And then making a selection here on the rocks that are in the scene. And the strategy here is to put all the main ingredients on separate layers. So these rocks, once I've made the selection here, will go on its own layer. So you want to make an enclosed selection, make a new layer. And I like to keep the values just a little bit different. So you can see here that the rocks are in a darker value than the sign. And now I'm using the freeform lasso tool to define these organic shapes that are the leaves and the grass. And I'll fill that in. I'll adjust the value to separate them. And then what I need to do is I need to move that layer underneath the rock layer so the rock layer is in front of the grass. So now is where I start to isolate the objects into their individual colors. So I'm taking the post, using the hue and saturation tool to drop the color value, drop the saturation, and I'll tweak the sign next. Command J, Command U, and I'm dialing in the color of the sign. And by keeping your illustration, your line art on the topmost layer, it allows you to see what you're working from. At some point when you have most of the stuff defined, you can hide the line art. I'm making some color adjustments here. Just dealing with flat values. Coming once again in with the freeform lasso tool to define the blades of grass. Lasso tool is a fantastic drawing tool. And here I'm just trying to create enough contrast between the grass and the rocks. And later on I'll be checking that. So this is what the lineless part looks like. Now I'm going to start defining texture. So I'm holding down the Shift key and using the freeform lasso tool to make multiple selections. The key ingredient here is to hold down the Shift key so that you can add to your existing selection in Photoshop. Then I can hit Command J, Command U, and I can drop the lightness. And that will give me those little ridges. I'll do the same thing for the post. It's holding up the sign. I'm holding down the Shift key, adding to my selection, using the freeform lasso tool. Command J, Command U. Those are really good keyboard shortcuts to know. So you can start to see some of the texture coming in. I'm going to take this additional rock here and just move it further back in the distance by making it darker. And now I'm going to add some texture on the sign itself. I think I have a faulty Shift key on my keyboard. So you can see that the process here is make a selection, jump it to its own layer, and adjust the hue and saturation. That's basically the technique, and I've covered this extensively in some of my earlier videos. But it can be very empowering to work in this way, especially if you're not super comfortable with digital painting. This is a good way to kind of ease yourself in. And then you can always come back in with your brush tool, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm using the brush tool to add small particles and bits of texture on the grass and the rocks. just to give it more form. And this video is being recorded in real time. I'm not speeding any of this stuff up. You're just seeing how long it takes me to actually do this. The reason why I'm showing it in real time is just to go ahead and emphasize the fact that this technique, once you understand it, once you've practiced this a bit, can really help you move through the visualization process very quick. Here I'm using the ellipse tool to go ahead and carve out a selection for the nut or the nail that's holding the sign. And then I want to now add the little skeleton skull. So again, with the freeform lasso tool, I'm working on the layer with the sign. I'm going to hit Command J, and I'm going to adjust the lightness. And holding the Shift key, I'm going to make a selection and hit Command X to cut. And so at this point, you can see how we've moved from the line art. I'm just doing a grayscale check to see contrast. There's a video that I have on that subject of a quick grayscale test. Here I'm going to add some more contours using my standard brush tool. The main thing here with this technique is there are no black outlines around any of these objects. The objects have form, and the forms are being defined by the contours, which are in the form of textures here. I'm setting that skull to multiply and putting it over the texture layer so it looks like this the skull is actually painted on the sign. And now I'm doing some very minor touch-up work to go ahead and make sure that there are no extra gaps. And here I'll go to the bottommost layer, make an elliptical selection and just add a background and lighten that background and scale it up. So, very powerful technique, definitely something to practice. You can use this for any type of environmental object that you want to create. If you found some value in this video, I definitely appreciate a like. Please tell your friends and colleagues. You can also follow me on Instagram at Krishna Draws. Definitely welcome any kind of input that you might have with regards to the usefulness of these videos. Please let me know. And we're almost done. I didn't add any highlights or shading to this. These are just flat colors just so that we can focus on technique. And there you go. Here's the final version. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.